You guys, I do sports talk radio. Wisco Sports Show. Wisconsin goes down to High Point. With apologies to the people who watch the show on YouTube, I forgot to press a button. So now we're on YouTube. We're always on the Wisco Sports Zone app. That's the place the show lives. All of the streams and the shows on our network, the Wisco Sports Zone app. You can listen to all the podcasts and watch the video streams of Evo's show in the morning. Over the Line, the Bill Michaels show in the afternoon. He was live up in Green Bay in Titletown, home field earlier today. And, of course, the Camp and the Swing. Zach and Jesse's Badger basketball and Badger football podcast. You can watch and listen on our app as well. Hoping that we can get Zach. It looks like Greg Gard is speaking right now, so hopefully we can catch him after the press conferences. I just saw this quote that Zach tweeted. Greg Gard didn't think Wisconsin played poorly today. Quote, that's the blessing and the curse of this tournament. It's one game. If you run into a team that's playing really, really well and have a miscue here or there, this is the result. I agree. Look, I agree with that. I think Wisconsin played pretty darn good. And I think High Point played great. And that's why I've circled the last 5.5 minutes. I don't think there's some wholesale. Wisconsin sucked at this today. I thought they shot the three adequately. I know they only made 9, which if you would have told me they're only going to make 9 threes, be like, oh, that's kind of a bad game. It's kind of a down game. But just watching today, felt like they made enough threes. They got them in moments when they needed them. Everyone chipped in a couple. I thought they shot the three fine. I thought for the most part, they limited turnovers just fine, which is going to be a big key coming in, especially in the first half. They only had, I believe, 2 turnovers in the first half, 3 turnovers in the first half. They ended with, let me check. I think the second half felt a little sloppier, but on balance, I still think they protected the ball pretty well. Turnovers, yeah, Wisconsin finished with 10. So I guess they did have more in the second half. But I don't think it was a miserable, out-of-control, meltdown type number. One of them was at the end. One of them was the out-of-bounds that Blackwell fumbled. So live ball running offensive sets, I thought Boyd and Blackwell protected the ball well. I thought they shot the 3 ball adequately. Wasn't their best shooting game, but that's not the reason why they lost. They made their free throws. I thought Wisconsin did most of the things that they would have. I thought Wisconsin did all the things they needed to win. High Point played even a little bit better than I think even the most optimistic High Point bettors would have thought. And Wisconsin was still up 8 with 5.5 minutes to go. And that's the moment that I look at. That's what I'm looking at. I got to make an adjustment to the live stream here. Hold on. Tell me if this is a little bit better. I apologize. I was kind of hustling to get some sound cut at the end and get some things ready for the show because the game just ended at 3:30. So it should be fixed now. Thanks for letting me know on the live stream. And welcome, Clemhead Mike. Nice to see you. I thought Wisconsin did most of the things that they should have been able to do to win the game. Put it this way. Classic Bill Simmons spin. If you play that game 100 times or 10 times and Wisconsin plays that game, I think they win 7, 8, 9 of them. I think High Point played outstanding, hit a couple of massive shots in some big moments. I think they got lucky on the, Blackwell buffing the ball out of bounds. Which I wasn't going to tweet this when it happened because it just sounds like such loser talk, and it is. But on the radio, I can explain it a little bit better. Those basketball replays annoy me a little bit because that Blackwell inbound play has been Wisconsin ball since the beginning of basketball, since the beginning of the sport. That's always been Wisconsin's ball because the defender is poking at it and pushing it the other way. But now we got replay involved, and this isn't just affecting Wisconsin. This affects every team. And we can break it down to the 10th of a centimeter. Spiritually, that's to me, spiritually, the way the game has always been played, that's Wisconsin's ball. But whatever, people want more replay because we got to get it right. So as long as we get it right, as long as we stop the game more and get more replays, as long as we get it right, I think Wisconsin played pretty well. I agree with Greg Gard's comment. I'll read it one more time for those who have joined. That's a blessing and the curse of this tournament. It's one game. If you run into a team that's playing really, really well and you have a miscue here or there, this is the result. The miscues that I look at are Nick Boyd and John Blackwell not being able to finish at the rim. They had opportunities. They had a lot of opportunities. And Nick Boyd tried to get a little too showy on one, tried to dunk the other, and there's 4 or 5 points being left on the table. I thought Blackwell, who both of these guys played great. Blackwell carried the team offensively in the first half. Nick Boyd showed up massive in the second half. He had something, I think he had 20-some points in the second half. He was brilliant. But when the other team plays that great, and it's March Madness, so you just sprinkle in, you shake in a little bit of magic, a little bit of voodoo, especially for a smaller school. 27 isn't enough. You needed 31 from Nick Boyd. And he left a couple of shots right up there at the rim because he's going up and under and changing hands and doing this and that. The number, by the way, if you'd like to join, 608-321-1670, a little bit of a de facto Badgers postgame show. I also see, I'm going to save this for after the break. Let's take some texts here. Cindy and Madison. Hey, Grant, very frustrating. We kind of stopped shooting a bunch of threes. Also, the offensive rebounding was horrible. That's a nit you can pick. If you want to look at coaching and preparation, did Greg Gard have his guys ready to play? If we want to do that thing. And I don't mean to mock it with my tone because it's a very fair conversation. I would have a couple critiques. One is the offensive rebounding. It just didn't really look like they were prepared for that. Or, as we talked about in our opening segment with Rapp and Rhodey and Bielowskis, these guys are skilled and they can shoot. I wouldn't describe them as having a lot of motor and gusto. Closing out, getting over ball screens, hunting rebounds. I think they're adequate. I don't think they're great. So this Wisconsin team, I think even if they're prepared for it and even if they're ready for it, they're a team that you can beat them on offensive rebounds and you beat them in little hustle moments and points like that just because it's the way their personnel is. Other than Blackwell, who's a monster on the boards, especially for his size. But I can look at the Badgers allowing so many offensive rebounds. They had, I think, 8 of them in the first half. Let me see how many they ended up with. So they were a little bit better in the second half. They only gave up 5 in the second half. High Point also didn't do a whole lot of missing. So there's not that many opportunities for offensive rebounds. That's a Greg Gard nit you can pick, although I think there's only so much you can do because the roster is built a certain way. I also, and this is a bigger picture conversation. It's tough to define in stats or in analytics. Wisconsin kind of gets big timed a little bit in these spots. Like James Madison came in and big timed him. I think High Point came in today and big timed him. What I wrote down in the first half, this is what I wrote down in my notes. Teams look too excited to play them. Like teams always look excited to play Wisconsin in the tournament. And to me, that's a personality, that's an edge, that's a preparation, part of that is personnel. But I think Nick Boyd and Blackwell and those guys showed up ready to go. Part of it is coaching too, right? Philosophically, what are you instilling throughout the week? Because the other team always looks more excited to play Wisconsin than Wisconsin looks to play the other team. A couple other texts here, Brad and Sturgeon Bay. Hey, Grant, I usually don't listen to the 4 o'clock hour, just the 5 o'clock hour. But that game was so irritating at the end, I needed to hear you. Thank you. This is good therapy. Well, I'm glad. We need our teams to lose more often, Brad. Thank you for listening. Ron says, why can't we ever play great? Why does our opponent never have a down game? That's Gardo. Well, that's kind of it. Like, Wisconsin almost beckons these teams to have a great game. Like these teams look so excited to play Wisconsin. So that's something that you can pick out with Greg Gard for sure. I thought Wisconsin played very good. I think there were a couple of plays short of a great game, which is what it would have taken to win today. And that I put at the feet of John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. A miscue here and there and some missed opportunities at the rim. You had to have it on this day in March Madness. Nick from Madison. Hey, Grant, based off how electric we finished the season in the Big Ten tournament without Winner, not saying Winner is making us worse, but do you think we win if Winner didn't play today? No, but I kind of started talking about this earlier this week. I'm just not that impressed. He's fine. He's fine. He had a big cleanup, a putback for 2 late in this game, and I noted that. He had a nice bank shot. I don't know how many points he finished with or how many minutes. Here's how I can give you my Nolan Winter take is more an Alexis Bielowskis take. I don't really notice a difference. I watched Alexis Bieliauskas today. I'm like, yep, he's smooth, got good footwork, good touch along the rim. And also, this is the biggest thing with Winter. I've been on this for 2 years. When he shoots a three, I don't think it's going in. I don't think it's going in. And Nolan Winter's bag from the moment he stepped onto campus was NBA skill set, which means shooting. I always thought the shooting would always be there, and the play around the rim, the physicality would kind of always be the question mark. I think physically he's really improved and impressed me. The skill has not been there. So I watch Bieliauskas. I'm like, he's got the footwork. He's got the size. Neither one of them are an army tank. Neither one of them are a Panzer on the block anyways. So chalk that up to a wash. Maybe Winter's a little bit better there. But when people say, well, Nolan Winter's a double-double machine. Well, when you're playing with those two guards, I think a lot of guys could step in and give you the same numbers. It's more about numbers, or it's more than numbers. So I'm not blaming Nolan Winter. I don't know that he's anything special. That's my Nolan Winter take. Let's take a call here before we take a break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Mike from Madison.
Hey, Mike. What's up?
Been suffering through a lot of these painful Badger losses over many years. I will say one thing, and Nick Boyd with the up and under and all the dipsy doodle, a lot of that gets back to the fact that he can't make a layup with his right hand. I said this to one of my buddies early in the year. I said, Nick Boyd can't shoot with the right hand. That's why he's doing the dipsy doodle and the spin and the other side of the rim. And it cost him a couple of times dearly coming down. And if he just able to go up with a straight right hand layup, that would have been a difference in the game. But they were set up to lose. It was classic 12-5.
Oh, come on. They were up 8 with 5.5 minutes to go. They had it right there. Do you really think that? Now it's tough luck that they seem to run into this Cinderella story, but the Badgers were complicit in creating that. They left the door open for this team to put a late run on him at the end and make those shots.
Sure they did, but they took the foot off the gas. They started slowing it down. High Point came down, made a couple of long threes, and then we felt the whole thing go. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to turn out well. So I think they were just kind of set up. I'm not putting it on guard or any of those guys. And you can't fumble an inbounds play like that. You got to be strong with the ball.
No kidding. It reminded me of 2017, which I appreciate the call. Thank you. Was ironically the last time the Badgers got to the Sweet 16. But that year, I remember, is the year they should have been in the Elite Eight because Nigel Hayes is kicking the ball around in the paint after Vito Brown made a huge three. So what's so funny is we talk about how they haven't made the Sweet 16 since, I believe, 2017 or 2016. And I don't even remember that as a Sweet 16 run. I remember that as the year they should have been in the Elite Eight. And they weren't because Nigel Hayes had potatoes for hands, which was very reminiscent of what we saw from John Blackwell today. I don't think they were set up by the committee. High Point played really well. Wisconsin had that game. They were up 8. And I disagree with you, caller. The pace slowed down, which was good for Wisconsin. I was okay with that. I don't think they just started dribbling, running clock. The game slowed down. It was dead. It was being played in a fashion that was not going to work for High Point. High Point was not going to be able to come back and win that game with 5 to go unless the game warmed back up. And Wisconsin let them warm it back up. They should have been able to slow it down and use Boyd and Blackwell to just dissect, get to the paint, finish. High Point couldn't stay in front of Blackwell or Boyd for most of the game. Wally Zerbiak pointed it out right away. It's like, yeah, Blackwell and Boyd are getting to the rim, whatever. Mostly Blackwell in the first half, but then Boyd got it going in the second half. Dead game, slow game, in the bonus, up 8 against a team that needs to play fast. They were playing the way they should have been playing. Boyd and Blackwell just couldn't finish at the rim. The game warms back up. Wisconsin still had chances to win it down the stretch, but they can't connect on an inbound pass, and it's just a very way to lose, and it's a very March Madness way to lose. Not just for Wisconsin, which is what I want to talk about next. I see a lot of, classic Wisconsin sports team. I hate hearing that. I'll explain why on the other side.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin weather doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, we make upgrading your home simple. Right now, order today and get 0% interest until 2032. You heard me right. 0% interest all the way until 20. Upgrade your windows and doors and pay over time without paying interest. With our 10-year limited warranty, you can feel confident in your investment. Schedule your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. 3/31/2026.
Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I didn't think we played bad. I think they beat us. They beat us. They were banging in that many threes. That was their chance to do that. And credit to them. Tip your cap to them. That they were able to make shots and take more and make more than they have in a long time.
It's Greg Gard after the game today. We'll hear more from Gard, couple of the players. I'm hoping we can connect with Zach Heilprin before the end of the show. We'll see. We should be able to. But if not, we can do it tomorrow. I know Zach's covering, getting some stories posted, some audios cut, post-game press conference, locker room, that sort of thing. I agree with Greg Gard that UW didn't play bad. I don't think Wisconsin played bad. And some folks are going to look at the box score and say, well, they only hit 9 threes. Well, in High Point, they made 15 threes. This is why this brand of Badgers basketball tires me out a little bit on the radio show. I love watching it. Really fun product. The last couple of years, I had a blast. I've had a ball. It tires me out on the radio show and on Bill's show because every Badgers basketball conversation is dumbed down to, well, if they make threes, they win, and if they miss threes, they lose. If they don't hit a certain number of threes, they're dead. If they make their threes, they can beat anybody. If they don't make their threes, they can lose to anybody. I just, if that's all the basketball is, I'm not interested. Do that on your own time then. Then it's just a nerd sport. It's a thing on a spreadsheet. That doesn't interest me. If there's no deeper conversation to be had about basketball other than, well, whichever team makes the most threes is going to win, then I'm not interested. Wisconsin was up 8 with 5.5 minutes to go. And in that moment, Badgers fans weren't, you shouldn't have been looking around saying, they're not making enough threes. They need to make more threes. There's no way they can win if they don't make more threes. They were playing great basketball, up 8, and making an adequate number of threes, which might have been 8 or 9 makes at the time, which in a lot of games wouldn't have been enough. In that game, that was plenty. They couldn't finish at the rim down the stretch. They couldn't connect on an inbound pass down the stretch. And they couldn't get a stop down the stretch. And then when they did, they couldn't answer with a bucket. I don't think Wisconsin played bad. To Greg Gard's point, I don't think they played bad. They needed to play better than they did to win. And I put that on Nick Boyd. I put that a little on John Blackwell. Maybe a little on Rhodey. Again, I'm not going to do blame pie because that tires me out even more than, well, they didn't make enough threes. Because if basketball is just a conversation of, well, make or miss. Well, if it's a make or miss league, then it's not a league for me. I'm not interested because that's boring. That can't be every conversation. That can't be every Badgers basketball segment on the radio show. Otherwise, I'm not interested. That bores me. That is not, it's just like in baseball. If it was just as simple as whichever team hits more home runs, boring, out. Not for me. I'm seeing a lot of parallels drawn to this loss and to Greg Gard towards the Packers and towards Matt LaFleur. And I think college basketball, NFL comparisons are very silly because the sports are so different. The budgets of the different teams, the format of the tournament. I just think the general ethos of the tournament, the NFL playoffs and March Madness, very, very different. But those are the parallels that people are drawing because this is a Wisconsin sports show. We're Wisconsin sports fans. And the people I follow on Twitter typically cheer for Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. Okay? Which is, by the way, it's the point of the show. It's a Wisconsin sports show. So I get it. Something that always annoys me, I remember talking to Ben Kenny about this like 3 or 4 years ago. Well, it would have been like 4 or 5, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now because he hasn't been with us. He left us long ago. He's still alive. He just doesn't work here anymore. and Ben would always point this out. This would annoy the heck out of him. And it doesn't always annoy me, but on days like today, it's annoying me. When people, especially like Packers accounts or people who typically tweet about, Packers or even, Brewers accounts, it's like, all Wisconsin sports teams are the same. We're cursed. All our teams do is gag and choke in the playoffs. Wisconsin should have won today. The Packers should have won in Chicago. I'm not telling you that none of these losses are bad. A lot of these losses are bad. I just hate the pity. I hate the woe is me. All my teams do is lose. Okay, guess what? The Packers have won a Super Bowl in our lifetime. Multiple in a lot of our lifetimes. The Milwaukee Bucks won a championship, not just in our lifetime, but in the last half decade. The Brewers have been really good now for a while. The Badgers have been good basically every year. Football for a long time until Chris McIntosh took over was very good, and they would make bowl games. They would go to Rose Bowls. Badgers basketball in my life has basically always been good. Let's just say this century has always been good. Guess what? All of our teams are good. Some have won championships. Others have not. That's the reality. And if you're going to sit around and say, oh, this is just classic my Wisconsin sports fandom, you've seen a Super Bowl, you've seen an NBA Finals. It's not owed to you that your team, well, my team is good. Why can't they win a championship? You know what? Because very few teams win a championship. I saw ESPN Chicago tweeting today. Have you noticed they're doing this thing, the curse of the L flag? Which I always think of the Norm Macdonald joke from Norm Macdonald Live when it's very Weekend Update-ish when he's like, organist from the Ray Manzarek is dead at 74. The curse of the Doors. The joke being he's 74. It's not the curse of the Doors. The dude was old, so he died. So I've noticed that ESPN Chicago has really latched onto this bit, which I don't even think it's an ESPN Chicago thing. I see some of the things that ESPN Milwaukee or ESPN Madison latch onto. And I'm like, okay, I suppose that's a take or a thing that you could do on the internet. I just don't have a lot of interest for market on market sports radio violence. Like, oh, did you see what ESPN Madison said about ESPN Chicago? Oh, and now they're going on their show. And now the guy from Waddle and Sylvie's coming on ESPN. Oh, SmackDown on Ben Brust's show. I don't have a lot of time for created sports radio rivalry between markets. On stations, yes. Like if Ebo and I beef over something, like that's good. That's juicy. I don't need to go outside. Did you see the ESPN Chicago guy went on ESPN Milwaukee? And now tomorrow, he's going to go behind enemy lines on ESPN Chicago. Like, just lame. But they've been saying the curse of the L flag, curse of the Doors. And I saw it today, he was tweeting out the list of everything that's happened since the Brewers held up the L flag. How could they? It's like, so you're talking about a Packers loss in the playoffs and a Badgers loss in the tournament. And the Bucks are the Bucks. The Bucks won a title. The Milwaukee Bucks won an NBA Finals in this decade. The Packers have 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime, one in my effective lifetime. I guess one in my lifetime. One happened months before I was born. So one. I don't always understand what Wisconsin sports expect. Do you think Badgers football should have a national championship right now? Badgers basketball might. That one's pretty brutal. They were there. And like today, they were up 8 with 5 minutes to go, and they gagged it away. So, yeah, that one hurts. The Bucks could maybe have another one. The Brewers maybe could have been in a World Series. They had a lead in Game 7 at home against the Dodgers, but who knows? They still would have had to win another series. Wisconsin sports teams were so cursed. It's like, no, they're all good. And winning championships is damn near impossible. So, yeah, they're going to have some brutal losses. If you don't like that, then go watch Netflix and stop whining on Twitter about how the world is out to get my teams. I've seen a Super Bowl. I've seen an NBA Finals. I've seen lots of great wins. I've seen heartbreaking losses. That's how this thing works. That's how sports work. Did you see Wisconsin lost to High Point? The curse of the L flag. Organist Ray Manzarek dead at 74. The curse of the Doors. God. Sports radio, man, they're really cooking up some high quality material at some of these other stations. Of course, with all due to all competing stations. Not throwing stones. I have the Greg Gard gauge, so really, is that any better? Probably not. 3 more minutes, we'll come back. Read some of your texts and comments on the other side. Wide open phone lines, by the way, if you want to join to talk Badgers basketball. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills, Wisconsin Sports Zone.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
One more segment, hour number 1 of the Wisco Sports Show, reacting to Wisconsin losing to High Point, 83-82. Very, very, very March Madness type of game. Wisconsin on the wrong end of it. I agree with Greg Gard's post-game comments. We'll hear more from that later on in the show. I don't think Wisconsin played bad. I think they played pretty good. They had a couple mistakes, a couple breakdowns. Sure, I thought High Point did as well. But I thought High Point made a couple big nuts plays, and Wisconsin left 1 or 2 out there. That's the difference. It's how you lose by 1 point in a March Madness game. Nick Boyd, a little bit too much of this, going left, right, up and under. Just shoot a layup. Just shoot a normal layup. Put a normal layup in the hoop. That would have sufficed. Need a little bit less of the entertainer today. Here's that comment from Greg Gard postgame one more time.
I didn't think we played bad. I thought they beat us. They beat us. They were banging in that many threes. That was their chance to do that. And credit to them. Tip your cap to them that they were able to make shots, then take more and make more than they have in a long time.
More from Greg Gard in the postgame. Zach Heilprin set to join us here at the top of the hour, so he can add a little bit more color and context to some of these comments. Greg Gard talking about how High Point had one way to win this game, and they did it.
If you're a program at that level, Coach Kravinoff brought up an example. He goes, exactly what we did when I was at South Dakota State to Maryland. Came in, loosey-goosey, chucked a bunch of threes, and that's our chance. And credit to them. They did it. That was their game plan, and they executed it. They're a really good team.
So I like Greg Gard. I put very little of what happened today on him. I don't like the approach. It's like, well, that's the way they were going to win, and they did it. God bless them. They hit 15 threes. Like, yeah, sure. But again, I'm not boiling these games down to, well, make or miss. And I'm definitely not letting the head coach of my program do it. I'm not saying that Greg Gard is making excuses or saying, well, what do you want us to do? You know, they made 15 threes, but there's a little bit of that there. And I refuse to let basketball, at least on this show, become a conversation of, well, what do you want? They made their threes. Okay, well, defend the, here's an, hold on. Guys, if you're listening, take out a little piece of paper and a pen if you have it. Write this down. They made some threes. What do you want us to do? Defend the 3-point line just a little bit better. Just a little bit. Some harder closeouts. Maybe Andrew Rohde can get his tubby ass over a ball screen. Limit them to one possession occasionally so they don't have a chance to shoot 2 or 3 threes in one possession. Well, they had one way to win, make a bunch of threes. They did it. Well, okay. There's a reason that I keep going back to that moment in the game. They're up 8 with 5.5 minutes left. That's the moment. Because no one at that moment in time was saying, what do you want him to do? High Point's making so many threes. No one was saying that. And no one was saying that Wisconsin wasn't making enough threes. I know they only made 9 in this game, but I keep using this word. They were adequate. They were perfectly adequate from behind the arc. Because for this entire game, I didn't think, well, they're not making any threes. Or at no point was I, they're making so many threes. They were just making enough threes. They were making enough threes for this to be a normal basketball game where it wasn't just about threes. They didn't make 20. They didn't make 2. They made somewhere in the middle. They were up 8 with 5.5 minutes to go. Execute. Blackwell, Boyd. Your 2 studs. You're in the bonus, and the game was dead. It's not just that the Badgers were up 8 with 5.5 to go. The game had slowed down. There was no pace. There was no momentum. High Point had kind of been suppressed. Wisconsin, if they had held the game in that state for 2 minutes, gotten to the rim a couple of times, made some free throws, they win. And instead, they let the game turn right back into a powder keg, still should have won at the end, and were unable to do so. And I keep going back to that moment, 5:30 left, because at that moment, no one was screaming about how many threes High Point was making. No one was screaming about how few threes Wisconsin was making. It was just a basketball game. And if you can be up 8 with 5:30 left and the game is in the state you want. Now, Wisconsin doesn't like to play slow, but they can play slow. High Point cannot. That they were not going to be able to come back and win that game the way that the game was trending with 5 left. Wisconsin could have, because they can just beat you to death with Boyd and Blackwell over and over. You're in the bonus, keep getting to the line or get to the rim. High Point couldn't stay in front of them. Wisconsin did not need to gas it back up. They were perfectly capable of winning, and they had an 8-point lead. High Point needed that game to get gassed up, and Wisconsin let them get away with it. High Point, I hate to say this, High Point was who we thought they were, and Wisconsin let them off the hook. It's very frustrating. So that's why I don't like hearing these comments. Well, it's like, well, what do you want? They had one way to make it. They had one way to win a game. They made a bunch of threes. I'm old-fashioned. I think there's a little bit more to the game of basketball than just make or miss. Call me crazy. I know. I'm a boomer. I call the Brewers every day asking what channel they're going to be on next week. I'm old. I am a boomer. But I just believe there's a little bit more to this thing than make or miss. Well, it's a make or miss league. Oh, well, okay. Well, then maybe I'll just go roll dice on the bar or flip a coin for a couple of hours to entertain myself. If that's all this is, then why do I bother turning on the TV? Zach Heilprin going to join us next to begin hour number 2. He's out in Portland.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Oh, Wisconsin basketball is in Portland. That's where they'll play High Point tomorrow for the first round of the NCAA tournament. Head coach Greg Gard talks on where they started in January to where they are now in March.
Just how they have grown together. I mean, just where we were back in November, December, a lot of the prognosticators in January had us not in this tournament, and we've been on an ascension from, mid-January on, and just how they've improved, how they bonded together, how their toughness has grown, how their connectivity has grown. We've had individual players take steps forward. I can't name anybody that hasn't gotten better.
Gard also said earlier this week that Nolan Winter and Jack Janicki both have taken steps forward to playing in the first round tournament. Again, that will be tomorrow, 12:50 against High Point. Turning to the Bucks, they would fall at the Pfizer Forum last night, 123-116 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they would do it without Giannis Antetokounmpo, who has been sidelined for a week with a hyperextended knee and bone bruise. That's the 32nd game Antetokounmpo has missed this season, the most of any of his 13-year career, and the Bucks are now 11-20 without him. The Deer will be back in action tomorrow when they're in Utah to face the Jazz.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin football will start spring ball tomorrow. That will begin 15 sessions to introduce close to 50 new players since last time they took the field in November, which includes Old Dominion's Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, Wisconsin's new quarterback, Colton Joseph. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
If you're a Wisconsin fan and you woke up this morning saying, we're just playing High Point. Guess what?
The 12 seed continue on as they upset the Wisconsin Badgers 83-82, and the Panthers march on.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
All right, hour number 2, Wisconsin loses to High Point, 83-82, the final score, coming down to the last possession. Very March Madness game. Very fun game. It just sucks when your team is involved with those types of games. And even worse when your team is the team that loses that type of game. Very entertaining for the masses. Fun upset for the masses, for those who say upsets are dead. March Madness is dead. Didn't feel like it today. Zach Heilprin is joining us. He's out in Portland. He saw the proceedings firsthand. Just got out of the locker room talking with coaches and players. Zach, let's start with the game itself before I ask you about what you heard from players and coaches. Is that okay? I have a point to ask you about the game, the basketball game that we just watched.
Your show.
Thank you. The moment that I circled, I wrote it down when it happened live. 5:30 left. Wisconsin's up 8. And most importantly, the game was kind of dead. The pace had slowed down. That felt like Wisconsin, you had it. You can beat them to death with Boyd and Blackwell. You're in the bonus. And High Point can't win this game and come back unless the game gets heated back up. And Wisconsin couldn't execute a couple opportunities at the rim. High Point is allowed to run again. And that was kind of the difference. I thought Wisconsin had a chance to win this with about 5.5 left with an 8-point lead, reminiscent of the national championship once upon a time, and they couldn't do it. That's where I start.
Yeah, it was 70-62 with 7-something left. Wisconsin went 3+ minutes without a basket. They missed 4 shots. And it's not like High Point was shooting, lights out. It wasn't until they hit the guy hit it from the logo.
Yeah.
And then he hit another one. Then they hit another one off the Blackwell, unable to keep his feet in bounds. And then they hit another 3 off of that. And so all of a sudden it's 70-68. And it just feels like that's where everything changed. You get them back in the game. They had a chance to stomp on their necks, and they didn't do it.
I agree perfectly. And I forgot about the Blackwell play where he stepped out of bounds. I played a Greg Gard clip or 2 that you emailed. We're going to listen to more of it later on in the show. I don't really love, and I know I'm taking a Greg Gard comment and I'm putting my spin on it to make a take. So I'm not trying to be unfair to Gard. But when he says, well, what do you High Point had one way to win the game and hit a bunch of threes, chuck up a bunch of threes and hope they go in, and they did. And I don't like that breakdown, because I don't think anybody, again, with 5:30 left, games in hand, pace had slowed down, I don't think anyone at that moment in time was, well, they're making too many threes. You know what I mean? Like, I think at that moment, the game was perfectly winnable, and it's only because Wisconsin left the door open in this final, couple minutes that those extra threes came into play. I don't feel like High Point was shooting out of their ass before Wisconsin left the door open for them.
I mean, they ended up going, 15-40?
Yeah, they hit 15.
Yeah. So the funniest thing, we were talking about this, that's how Wisconsin is beating the big boys, right? They have to go and shoot 15, 16 threes, and they did. And that's how they won. That's how they beat Michigan. That's how they beat Illinois down there. They didn't do it in the second game. I'll give them credit for that. It's what they did to Purdue. It's what they did to Michigan State. That's when you do not have the talent as the other team. What do you have to do? Chuck. And they chucked and hit their shots, and Wisconsin didn't chuck. Those 23 threes that Wisconsin took tied for the second fewest all year.
Yeah.
So they were run off the 3-point line, which is fine because it opens up a lot of ability to get to the rim. They just couldn't finish at the rim.
Yeah.
Boyd and Blackwell struggled to finish around the basket. They weren't the only ones. And then certainly the offensive rebounding in the first half for High Point was a difference in why that game was a 2-point game at the break. So Greg Gard, I don't disagree with him in the idea that that's what High Point needed to do to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny that that's how Wisconsin has beaten all these big guys in the exact same way. And now it kind of came back, and I'm not going to call it karma by any stretch, but it is a little, it's a little funny. That's how you get knocked out, the same way that you knocked out all these other big teams.
Sports can be funny. Zach Heilprin is here. He's out in Portland. Not for much longer, unfortunately, because the Badgers lost today to High Point. Is it unfair to say we needed a little bit less showmanship from Nick Boyd today? It needed less the entertainer and more the fundamental layup maker. Is that unfair?
I think the only one that I take issue with is the one that he put a little too much English on, right? Like he broke his guy down. It was an easy layup, and he made it, brought the arm back and then forward, and that one was what it was. There were so many other times he did what he did all year, where he was able to finish over guys bigger than him. And again, comes back to the final play, and he did the exact same thing he had done all year, and this time someone got him and blocked the shot. And you play a certain way all year, and you're going to live and die that way. That's who he is. He's going to challenge. The guy made a good play. The help guy made a good play, and that's what it is. That's how Nick Boyd is. I have no problem with Nick Boyd getting into with the coaches. I have no problem Nick Boyd getting other players. Like, that's just who he is. It's how he's played all year. It's led to him, 22 20-point games. The first Badger to score 20 points per game for a season in more than 30 years. Like, that's who he is. I'm not going to step in here and say he shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have done that today. He played the way he always has, and for some of the shots didn't go that he wished he would have.
I think I'm good on Blackwell and Boyd. On Greg Gard, go ahead.
I'd like to ask you. I sent this to you. I don't know if you'll have time to play it or not, but Boyd got into a back and forth with Jim Polzin in the locker room today. And I don't know, maybe you'll play it later, but
I'm going to. I listened to it. I have not played it yet, but I'm safe. Let's talk about it though.
I think it's worthwhile. I do. Because it's just kind of funny because how they look at it as opposed to how we look at it. Nick Boyd wanted to say that, or Jim Polzin goes, you can't call this a great team. And he was about to answer the rest of ask the rest of the question. And Boyd goes, what'd you say? And they went back and forth as to whether this was a great team or not. And Boyd was saying, there's only great teams in the NCAA tournament. And I fervently disagree with that. You just lost to a team that is from the Big South, bud. You're not a great team. You were a good team with great moments, but we're not going to be talking about this team 15 years from now. You know what I mean? Like this is, there's one great team in Wisconsin history in the last, 40 years, 50 years. There's only one. And they got to the national championship. That team was great. Greatness. That was great. That's the level that you're trying to reach. And this team wasn't at that level. You finished 5th in the Big Ten. I mean, and you got knocked out in the first round of the NCAA tournament. You're not a great team.
I think they had a great season, and let me make my case.
Do they have a great season?
I was just about to say
4 top 10 teams.
I was just about to say, if you want to disagree with me, you can. I am someone who puts a lot of value, and I'm not even being a dick. I am someone who puts a ton of value in, hey, on a Saturday in March on CBS, you went to Mackey and won. Right? They had a bunch of those wins. Those wins do a lot for me. And if we stop caring about those wins in college basketball, then college basketball is a much worse sport, in my opinion. Then it's just the NBA, where you just are waiting for the tournament. So I think they had a great regular season. But Zach, to your point, I don't remember great seasons. We remember great teams. So I don't think this is a great team. I think they had a great regular season, but you don't remember a great regular season in 2, 3, 10 years. You remember great teams. Does that make sense?
I wouldn't even call it a great regular season. Getting beaten by BYU by 30. Getting beaten by Nebraska by 30. They had some great wins. I don't know that I would call it 24-10 regular season or 24-9 regular season great. Like, that's just not how I'm going to do that. But that was not what the question was. Yeah. The question was about how do you define? Well, I guess it was. How do you define the season? And if you want to break it up into parts, that's perfectly fine. That's what you're doing, and I understand it. I would just disagree with it. And unfortunately for Wisconsin, and mainly for Greg Gard, because he's the one that's here every single year, you are judged on what you do in this tournament, legacy-wise.
Yes.
Very, very good coach, but he has fallen short time and time again in this tournament. And, we hear him after the tournament saying, and we hear him during the year say, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's all about matchups. You never know what's going to happen in a game. It's one game.
That's
40
baseball.
minutes, you have no idea.
It's the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's what Nolan Winter said after the game too, right?
Essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes. That's essentially what it is. And that's fine. But you can't sit there and talk about this being a great season or a great team when you lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. You haven't been to the second round in what's now going to be 10 years.
So I'll come around and I'll agree that maybe, sure, it wasn't a great season, a bunch of great wins, and that has a lot of value, but not the value that we're going to remember in, even 2 years, let alone 10 or 15, like we do with the teams that went to the Final Four, had big time moments in the tournament. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
I was just gonna say, I don't think it diminishes necessarily what Nick Boyd did this year, but I think we will think about him and John Blackwell differently, even though they put together how many points they have 49 together today. Was it 27 and 22?
Yeah.
So I mean, they were essentially the two that showed up. Austin Rapp had I think 12 as well, but you would think of this group differently if they had gotten to the second weekend.
Yeah. I mean,
those two guys, those specific guys I'm saying, with what Nick Boyd's legacy here is at Wisconsin. Great Badger, great player, but I don't know that we're going to be thinking about him for years.
Do we think about, put it into reference. How often do you still think about and talk about Johnny Davis? I do, because I watched him in high school, and that's like one of my just obnoxious things. Tanjay was a great player. Storr was. I don't know that in 5-10 years, I'm not going to tell my kids about John Tanjay. Probably.
No, you'll tell them about Bronson Koenig.
Yeah, damn right I will. Yeah.
Right? You'll tell them about Bronson Koenig. You tell them about Sam Decker. You're talking about Frank Kaminsky. And it's not just because of Sam Decker was a good college player. I don't know that he had a great career at Wisconsin. What he had was a great tournament the last time we saw him. And that's how I think that's he was a great 5-star player. He's a fantastic player, an awesome player. But he is remembered in large part because he's from the state and what he did in high school, and then what he did in that tournament in 2015.
Yeah.
That's why I think we remember him. Frank Kaminsky's obviously on a different level, but Bronson Koenig and Nigel Hayes, you remember those guys because what they did in March. And you will not be remembering these guys for what they did in March.
What's funny is we're talking about, Wisconsin hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since what was the year, 2016 or 2017? 2017. Yeah. And what I remember about that year, that final trip to the Sweet 16, is they gagged and should have been in the Elite Eight, largely because Bronson Koenig couldn't hold on to the ball. Or not Bronson Koenig, Nigel Hayes. That's what I remember about that year against Notre Dame.
No, yeah, that was the year before that. The 2017 year was the one was Chiozza's shot.
Right.
Yeah, the year before that was Notre Dame, and that was Nigel Hayes.
They gagged. They gagged against Notre Dame. We can agree on that.
They gagged against Notre Dame. I don't think the less gagging was the Florida game. They should not even have been in that game. The Zach Showalter shot, why? We forget about that shot as if, and they came back late in that game. Now again, that's March, right? That's what you're supposed to. That's what you remember in March. Big time players, big plays, and for this group and for High Point, what they're going to remember is a guy who hadn't made a single 2-point basket all year ends up with the game winner on a breakaway layup, and also hitting ridiculous threes.
Well, of course, a Greg Gard coded question here, more so about the ethos of his program and just kind of how they present in March. Bear with me. This is more me than it is you, but I'm going to make you talk about it. Why do their opponents always look more excited to play them than they look excited to play their opponents in these tournament games? Is that a real thing? I think that's the best way that I can word it.
I don't think that was true today.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it was true at all. I thought they brought it in the first half.
Yeah.
For sure. When they got up, it was 15-5. Nick Boyd never stops talking, and the energy that he has. And I thought John Blackwell was the same way. Do they need more of those guys? I think so. You know what I mean? I do think that will help. And if John Blackwell ends up coming back here, I think he took some steps in that.
Sure.
But Nick Boyd's just a different dude. I didn't think. Yeah, I mean, it's also the underdog, right?
Mm-hmm.
The underdog had the crowd with them. The underdog.
But this
started make it. Let me finish.
Sorry. Go ahead.
He had the crowd with them, had the feeling, and so they just trying to jazz everybody up, and so it looks like they have more energy. But I didn't think I thought Wisconsin did have energy today. I would not say that was the problem today.
This is so frustrating. I was thinking about this on my walk to the bathroom before the show, is that Wisconsin teams play against Wisconsin like they're playing against Duke, but Wisconsin's not Duke. So they're this horrible middle ground where they get the treatment of a blue blood, but they're not as good. So they're really like a 5 seed that these teams come in and they're jacked to play the 5 or the 6 seed like they're going up against, UNC or Duke or Arizona. And it's a horrible place to be. It's the worst of both worlds in terms of how your opponent perceives you, right?
Right. But also, maybe Wisconsin should have changed the name to Michigan, or change High Point's name to Michigan on their scouting report.
Sure.
And Michigan, because they always get up to the best teams too, and played their best when they had the biggest challenge. I do want to ask you this question because Greg Gard said it and maybe he played it.
I love this.
He goes, we didn't play bad. They beat us. Would you agree with that comment?
So I agree. I don't think Wisconsin played bad. So I agree with that. I don't think Wisconsin played bad. I think they played pretty good. They needed to play really good or great in 1 or 2 more moments to win. I think but when Gard words it that way, he makes it sound like Wisconsin in no way was complicit, and that's not true. Wisconsin made plenty of mistakes.
Well, and he actually did say that as well. He said,
okay.
we didn't play poorly, but when a team plays really, really well and you have a few miscues, this is the result.
Yep. I think I agree with that. I don't think that's unfair. It's tough because, when I'm on the radio, and I get a 15-second soundbite, Gard doesn't give any succinct sound bites. He goes and goes and goes. So I have 15 seconds. And honestly, I'm looking for something to what can I pick at? What can I criticize? I don't think that's unreasonable. I think fans are going to hear that and be mad, but I think Wisconsin played pretty good. I think Wisconsin played pretty good.
I think they played well offensively. They weren't good defensively. They were not good defensive rebounding wise. And the funny thing is we were sitting here. It might have been the Johnny Davis here, sitting there. How do you win games when you play offense this way? Mm-hmm. How can you win games? And now, on the other side of it, you play offense this way. How can do you need to be better defensively? Have you lost your way defensively? And he said yes. He said he was never satisfied with what they were defensively this year, and I agree. But I think if you're going to play if you're going to win games in college basketball these days, it has to be the way that Wisconsin did it this year. Yeah. Because you're just not going to get guys to buy in, and you're not going to have them for 3 or 4 years to learn defense and all the different stuff that Wisconsin used to be. You're not going to have them. You're going to have them for 1 or 2 years, and you need them to be offensive minded guys and try and outscore guys. That is what college basketball is right now in this current environment. And they've done a good job adapting to it. It still hasn't resulted in them getting to the second weekend.
A parting shot. We can talk about the future and guys coming and going later down the line. But one last thing, Nolan Winter racks up double doubles. I think I'm of the belief that most competent players of his build and skill set would rack up double doubles playing with these guards. I don't know. He's not a guy who I've walked away from a game saying, man, Nolan Winter grabbed that game by the balls. For the most part, I watch Bieliauskas. I'm like, he's got the same touch in the footwork. And Bieliauskas can make threes. Zach, I thought Nolan Winter was supposed to be able to make threes. He shoots a 3, and I'm never confident that it's going in. And that was never supposed to be him. So give me a Nolan Winter comment on the way out the door here.
It absolutely was supposed to be him. He absolutely does have that. He absolutely does have that ability. It just hasn't. It hasn't been. And I would imagine if he's back, which we'll see. Mm-hmm. I would imagine he is of the 2 guys that you want back, him and Blackwell, right? Mm-hmm. The 2 guys that you definitely want back. I would certainly say Winter's much more likely than John Blackwell at this point.
Really?
But that's not I don't think it's a hot take.
Sure.
Blackwell has not really talked about his future. His dad has, but he is not. Winter did today, and he said, I want to be a Badger for 4 years. Like, that's what I want. But he didn't want to talk about that today because it's about the players it's about the guys it's about this team. He didn't want to talk about the future, whatever, either way. I think Nolan Winter and Greg Gard has felt this. He thinks he can be the next great Badger big. And he averaged nearly 14 and 9 rebounds a game this year. 14 and 9, that's not bad for him. But if he can add the 3-point, if he can actually hit that with some consistency, get his average up to 35, 36, if he's hitting it at that clip, he can be one of the better players in the Big Ten. He just hasn't been that. And he doesn't really have an inside game. That is a bit of an issue.
Biliauskas does. He's smooth down there, Zach.
You saw one move and you're like, yep, that's who he is. As opposed to, like,
maybe. Maybe.
The funny thing is that they just had like none of them could catch a pass, or none of them could hold on to the ball today. It was just not great.
When, lastly, can we expect statements from players like Jack Janicki on whether or not they'll be returning to the team? Because I know they got to get with their graphics people and let us know.
I think we can expect one pretty early from Austin Rapp. He said he's not going anywhere. So Jack Janicki, I would imagine, will be back as well.
Well, we had to wait a little bit last offseason with Janicki. That's all I say. He had to take some time and then put out a statement.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Greg Gard did talk about their retention. Like that is ongoing. And I imagine here in the next few weeks, as soon as when the portal opens, we'll have some news, I guess.
Well, I just look forward to the graphics. I know those graphic designers need to stay busy. Zach, I appreciate you. I'm sorry that you don't get an extra night out in Portland with your beat mates. I know how important that's so crucial to the sports media experience I've found. So I'm sorry. And the biggest bummer is, what was this all for? Now we don't have a live Thorson and Heilprin at Monks and Sun Prairie tonight, so I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Yeah, it's very tough. Very tough. Well, you know what? Go and have a beer for me at Monks. Just go there by yourself.
You know what? I think I might. I appreciate it, Zach. Yeah. Safe travels back. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Grant.
Zach Heilprin, our sports director. The Camp and the Swing. Love some good content up with Jesse Temple. The Wisco Sports Zone app will have it. Our website, Mad City Sports Zone, or Wisco Sports Zone, excuse me. We changed it. We updated it. And then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Let's take a 3-minute break. I'll get right to your phone calls on the other side. Sorry, I know we had a lot of calls come in that segment. I promise I'll get you right on the other side. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills Zone Network.
Wisconsin weather doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, we make upgrading your home simple. Right now, order today and get 0% interest until 2032. You heard me right. 0% interest all the way until 2032. Upgrade your windows and doors now and pay over time without paying interest. With our 10-year limited warranty, you can feel confident in your investment. Schedule your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Restrictions apply.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
In terms of how this group has grown, this group deserved to go farther. You know, they were good enough to go farther. We ran into a team that, you know, played really, really well and did what they had to do.
Yeah, Greg Gard. There's that D word. Zach and I in our previous segment, if you missed that, it was great 20 minutes with Zach. Appreciate him. Talk about the G word. Is it a great team? Was this a great season? I think I'm willing to back off the great season. They had some great wins. That's good. Not a great team, not a great season. Very good season with some great wins. Greg Gard, using the D word, deserved. He said two things in that comment. This team deserved to go farther, and then he said they had the talent to go farther. I'll agree on the second part. They absolutely had the talent to go farther. The D word, deserved, that's a tricky, complicated thing. I don't think they deserved to win this game. They could have, should have, deserved to. Be very careful when we start talking about what deserves what or who deserves what. It's a tricky thing. I don't know. Couple mistakes, couple missed opportunities. And when you play a great team or a team that was great on this day in this tournament, which lends itself to some weird things, you get sent home. And I'm not comfortable saying they deserve to go farther. Good enough to go farther, yeah. But the D word, I don't know. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Kind of disappointed in Zach's analysis there, man.
How so, Vagabond John? I'm surprised it took an hour and 28 minutes to hear from you tonight. Good way. I was excited for your call. I knew you would bring some good stuff, so I'm not ripping.
I was sitting at a bar just thinking about my feelings now back at the highway as a good Wisconsin.
Now you're driving home. Great. Yeah, good. Excellent.
Through Wood County, but Wisconsin Rapids is a town I didn't know existed before today. Cranberry Land, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
John Blackwell had more turnovers than points in the second half. John Blackwell played 25 minutes and a lot of core minutes, if you remember, back during that JMU loss.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay if John Blackwell does not come back next year.
Ooh.
Of Greg Gard, Nolan Winter, and John Blackwell, I am most confident that we can replace John Blackwell in the portal or in the coaching carousel. Whatever you want to do.
I like that. I like that analysis.
That dude sucked in the last 20 minutes, okay? Grant, you were spot on. Billy Auskis, not only did he have one flashy move, he was plus 13 in this game.
Yes!
If Billy Auskis would have played more than 23 goddamn minutes, the Badgers would be going on to play Arkansas on Saturday. I do not understand why he came off the floor. He was dominant in rebounding. He just looked bigger than everybody else. And he's able to score inside. You're 100% right on Nolan Winter. He doesn't have an inside game. He's a great gadget big man, but he's not developing into what we want him to be. And credit to him for fighting through the ankle injury. I know I gave him crap last week because he was screaming about it too loud. You know, it was a rolled ankle, for Christ's sakes, right?
He's tough, and his physical, like, he hangs in there for a man of his frame. But when you say he doesn't have an inside game, well, I'll tell you, he's not a great outside shooter, so what? You know, then what is it?
What does he do?
Yeah.
What does he do, right? But the story here is John Blackwell only, right? In the final 2 minutes, he had two critical turnovers, and I don't know who gets credit for it, whether it's the person who sent the pass in, but either way, he was not prepared to receive passes. He was not strong with the basketball, and he just absolutely disappeared. And Grant, the most embarrassing part is if you watched on TV and you heard the halftime interview, you heard the High Point player say, John Blackwell had 20 points. We're bigger and more athletic than them. We can beat these guys.
Yep.
And I thought, there's no way, right? Going to the thing, there's no way. John Blackwell absolutely proved he has no business sniffing around the NBA, right? He's an absolute fraud in the second half of March Madness games. And I'm sick of Greg Gard getting this late at the feet when he's got this star, quote-unquote, player who has more turnovers than points down the stretch in a March Madness game. That's ridiculous. Greg Gard's not out there asking his players to poop down their legs. The turnover battle was atrocious. The one Greg Gard criticism that I think is legit is they only took 23 three-point shots in this game. I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't push that to 30. I don't know why Rapp didn't get more looks. I don't know why Carrington didn't get more looks. I don't know why we forced it down the paint. But to only take 23, Grant, when you average between 30 and 35 the whole season, Wisconsin changed their identity today, and they paid dearly for it because Nick Boyd can make his 2 points, but some random white dude from nowhere, USA, just absolutely couldn't miss. And guess what, Grant? 3-point shot is worth more than the 2-point shot. We learned that lesson again today. That's all I got.
Good call, Vagabond John. So that line at the end, so there's something interesting there. That's maybe the way to explain it is Nick Boyd didn't make his 2s and some random white kid from nowhere, USA, made his 3s, and the 3s are worth more. I don't think that they didn't leave me wanting more 3s. I thought a big part of this game coming in was Wisconsin can use the size to their advantage and attack High Point in a way that maybe it's not worth attacking other teams. I also don't think they needed to introduce the variance into the game. I think Wisconsin was better. They were 10-ish point favorites for a reason. They had an 8-point lead for 5.5 minutes left for a reason. They're bigger. And I thought the more 3s you take, the more variance you introduce into a game. It's like going forward on more fourth downs. It's something I think you need to do as an underdog, but don't always need to do so much as a favorite. I was okay with the shot selection. And I don't know if that was something that was talked about during the week or if that's just the way that these possessions played out. We have no way of knowing, but we're always kind of left guessing when we're trying to figure out, well, is that a play call? Was that a decision the player made, right? Was it something McCarthy called or that Aaron Rodgers did at the line, right? This is the age-old thing we run into when we're trying to evaluate coaches and what their actual impact is. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, this is Greg from Appleton.
Hey,
Live.
happy, why am I forgetting it? Why am I blanking it? Go ahead.
Gregapalooza.
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 I don't know how.
God damn it, Grant.
I know. That's on me. Happy Gregapalooza, G-Dub.
I'm calling live from an Chevy HD, all options available right now. Literally, I'm at the tailgate.
No kidding.
Have you ever heard of the song by Dwight Yoakam? What? What were you gonna say?
Me? I wasn't saying anything. I was excited to hear what Dwight Yoakam song you're gonna reference.
Dwight Yoakam, "Fast as You." You know that song, right? Maybe I'll be fast as you.
Great song.
Maybe I'll break hearts too. That's the song of Greg Gard right there. That breaking hearts, dude. Like, what in the world, dude? The guy, you see, we've seen this movie before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the 5 versus, we've seen this movie where one guy, Marshall Henderson, just smokes us. And when you pull up from the half court line and just nonchalantly nail a 3, I knew it was over. Did you not? You're like, this isn't good.
Didn't feel great. Well, it didn't feel great because, G-Dub, you have Gregapalooza. You watch enough of these games. You know how March Madness works. You can always bake in a couple of these crazy out-of-nowhere performances from white guys like that. And when that went down, it's like, oh, we're about to get March Madness right here. It feels like that.
We're good. And you know what? The vibe is high. And you know what? You know who's not here is you, Grant. We need you here. I don't know why you're not here right now.
Because I got things. I don't know. I was in Denver last weekend.
So what? You know what? That doesn't matter. Grant, you need to be here. Next year, you're coming.
All right, so I can promise to be there next year. G-Dub, I appreciate it. Enjoy Gregapalooza. I look forward to the show tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Absolutely, dude. Love you, dude. Love your show. Thank you for everything you do.
G-Dub, I love listeners such as yourself. And G-Dub and I was always fighting, but we can come together. Gregapalooza is great. So Evo's broadcasting live there up in Appleton tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Although the vibe at the Moon Bar for our broadcaster, Evo's it wasn't a broadcast. Kate and Evo and a bunch of people were just hanging out. The vibes hit the floor quickly, I was told. Hopefully people hung around and were eating and drinking, but the vibe's not great. One more call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Then I got to take a break.
Things ain't always what they've seen. Grant, Mad Max from Tunnels Ever Seen.
Man, that's as dejected as I've ever heard you begin to call Mad Max.
Yeah, it's just so I didn't even watch the game. I stayed at work because honestly, I saw it coming. I was thinking all week, I was debating with myself whether do I want to put in some vacation and just get out early and watch the game? But just part of me knew all week deep down that this was going to happen. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to be at work, not following the game, just because I can see the inevitable coming from a mile away. And it did. And I hate to say it, but as I've been a big Greg Gard supporter for a long time, but I think I'm going to turn in my badge as a Greg Gard supporter today. I can excuse like one or two of these. Like, yeah, like it's the tournament. There's some random luck involved.
What about
like,
10 straight of them, though? Can you
Yeah,
excuse 10 in a row?
No, I can't. It's just 10 in a row. I think that's a you problem. It's like if you run into an asshole in the morning, you ran into an asshole. If you run into an asshole all day, you're probably the asshole.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Greg Gard is an asshole. Like, he seems like a very nice guy, but at this point, it's however he's building the roster, however he's coaching these guys. I don't know exactly what it is, but something isn't working in translating from the regular season to March. And I'm not going to say fire him, because I just know that's not going to happen, because I think McIntosh's seat is a lot warmer than Gard's ever was. And I think his fate hinges on a lot on what Fickle does here, but I don't think he can credibly fire Greg Gard as long as Luke Fickle is coaching with the results that he's had. So I think we're kind of stuck with this for now, unfortunately, but it's just, as long as Gard is here, I just can't see this team making that deep magical run. Because I've said for a long time, it's just like, oh, he's going to get it one of these years. It's right around the corner, and it just never comes, and you just can't fool me anymore.
And that's a fine point, Mad Max. And I'm going to run because I'm up against a break. Have a good night. It feels very Brewers-ish, and I don't like crossing sports, but it feels Brewers-ish, and it's like, I know how this tournament works. They keep having good teams. At some point, it's got to be our year, right? But it isn't. So, yeah, Greg Gard's the common denominator. I don't know. We can explore this more on the other side. I'm late for a break. I didn't know how to wrap that up nicely and neatly, so I'll just go like this.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
If you label this team in terms of an adjective, like what kind of season this was, what would you say? I mean, like, it's hard to say it's a great team, right? But
you said, say it again. It's hard to say what?
It's hard to say this was a great team just
Why you
based
say
on
that?
how it ended.
Why do you say that?
Well, tell me, make the case.
Great team. Why not? Why not?
In terms of how this ended?
I mean, great teams make it March Madness. High Point's a great team. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like, only 64 teams that allowed to step foot on that court right there. You know what I mean? So you got to be a great team to get there. And if there were no upsets in a sense, there would be no March Madness. So, like I said, it happens. You tip your cap, and not say we're not a great team. I mean, so what's up? What do you think?
I don't know. It's tough. I think it's a tough season to define. You're
You
certainly
think so?
a good team. A team that loses in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
What do you think about? That's a bad team.
It's not bad.
Good. All right.
Better than
I guess
good,
I can.
Not quite great.
Okay, I guess I can agree with you on that a little bit. But
It's just hard. It's really hard to define.
To define what you mean?
I just think it's hard to label what this season was. You guys had 4 wins over top 10 teams.
What type of teams do that?
Right. Exactly.
So what you gonna call us then?
I don't know. That's the problem. And there's a history before you got here.
Who's chewing gum?
Get over the hump in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
Stop!
It's a great program. So I mean, I guess you got to call it what it is: tradition, history, wins is losses. Yeah, I mean, I think any coach in the country would take 24-11. So I'm proud of that. So I say it's a great team.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Oh, the gum. Oh, stop smacking the gum. Ruining the Dwight Yoakam. Good pull by G-Dub in our last segment. That's the clip that Zach referenced earlier on this hour. You ever have a situation where you and a buddy, you find each other going back and forth and yelling, and sometimes you need to take a moment and be like, wait. I think we're agreeing right now. I think we're agreeing. I think what Jim Polzian and Nick Boyd were doing, I think they were in agreement. It's a difficult season to define, and I would argue most college basketball seasons are really difficult to define, which I think is what makes it for a great topic on the radio show. It's like you have 4 wins over top 10 teams. You got a without your best center, a pretty good showing in the conference tournament. Then you lose in the first round. What do you do with that? So I would agree they're not a great team. Zach talked me away from that. I think they were a good team that had some great wins. And to me, there's value there. It's more value that lasts on that day. Saturday afternoon, they beat Michigan in the regular season. That's big value. It's not something that I talk about a year or two later. Talk about tournament wins a year or two later. You talk about great teams with great seasons. You talk about that 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I'm not going to tell my kids about John Tonje, AJ Storr, Nick Boyd. Tell them about Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker, Bronson Koenig. I'll probably tell them about Johnny Davis too, but that's more of a me thing. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, what up? It's Secondhand Smoke John. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, John? It's been a little bit. I see you on Twitter every once in a while, though. I see you pop up here and there.
Yeah, it's once in a while. Just I feel like chiming in. It feels spicy once in a while.
Okay.
Couple things. First and foremost, I want to be the first person to welcome you to the 2026 Milwaukee Brewers baseball season. Welcome.
We're here.
Here.
Did you see Blake Perkins just got optioned down to Nashville within the last hour or two? So there's a little Brewers news. Looks like Locker.
Yeah, I saw what's his nuts made the cut, but Blake, he'll be up in no time. Give it May, he'll be up there in no time.
Well, especially if Perkins breaks spring with the team. Perkins will be up to replace him before too long for one reason or another.
Of course. And Bon Voyage Boyd, I mean, he was fun, but holy crap, did he really just show his true colors?
What do you mean?
Game? He played way too fast, way too hard, way too emotional. The way that last shot should have been Blackwell's all freaking day. Blackwell deserved that shot. Am I wrong?
I mean, Nick Boyd was the way hotter hand in the second half. I
don't care who deserves that shot.
I think it's too. I think it's
Blackwell deserves that shot. There's anyone that has Bucky in their heart with all this NIL crap, it's Blackwell.
Okay. But if that's the angle, sure. I just think if we're talking about in that game, in that moment, both of them had good stretches. Nick Boyd was hotter in the second half. I think it's a thin line, secondhand smoke, because Boyd, they need some of that energy. They need some of that ass. I don't think that they didn't get it from Chucky Hepburn, and JMU comes in and just big times him. I don't think Nick Boyd's not getting big timed by anyone, and Zach, got back off a little on that.
And I appreciate Boyd's 2 points, the answer points. We're down 2, now we're even. Down 2, now we're even. Or up 2, then we're even. I appreciate his effort on all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Game on the line, he plays emotional. I think he kind of screwed us a little bit. He went underneath the basket, and he was desperate, didn't kick it out. We had plenty of time. So goodbye. See ya.
I agree with you. Too much. We had a caller earlier say, not rinky dink, too much rope-a-dope around the hoop. I can't remember. God, it was such a good word. I can't remember what they said, but there was a little bit too much of that. I needed less of the entertainer, Nick Boyd.
Right. And one more thing.
Yeah.
And I just want to get this out. Now, NIL stuff, was this not a great recruiting trip? Do you not want to recruit number 99 and then the guy with the orange shoes? Were they not outstanding for High Point today?
Interesting question.
I would recruit the shit out of those two players. Sorry, Coop. Those guys. Sorry.
No, you're good. You can't say that. But you might be right. Look, I think thanks, secondhand smoke. I think High Point's coach was cocking off after the game because that's what you have to do when you pull a big upset. This is your moment. You got to capitalize. You stick your chest out and see if you can't go from High Point to whatever slap, Penn State. Probably not Penn State. No one wants to coach at Penn State. But what's a Big Ten program that you would actually take as a stepping stone? Minnesota, but it'll take a couple years for them to get sick of Medved. Staying in Illinois, I'm racking my brain. I like Rutgers, maybe. Rutgers. Washington, maybe. Would Washington be an upgrade? I don't know. I'm not going to waste your time with this. I'm trying to brainstorm which schools would be an upgrade, or if you're going to try to hire the next coach from HBCU or not Florida Gulf Coast, but St. Pete's or whoever. You're trying to poach a coach because that's what everybody does this time of year. One more segment, 3 minutes. We'll be right back. Couple more cuts from the postgame locker room.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
If he can add the 3-point, if he can actually hit that with some consistency, get his average up to, 35, 36, if he's hitting it at that clip, he can be one of the better players in the Big Ten. He just hasn't been that. And he doesn't really have an inside game. That is a bit of an issue.
Biliauskas does. He's smooth down there, Zach.
You saw one move and you're like, yep, that's who he is. As opposed to,
Maybe. Maybe. I love having Zach on. I love our dynamic and Zach's been coming on the show for 8 years now. When this show started in 2018, we weren't even on in Madison, just on in La Crosse on WK2I. And I remember emailing Zach on an email that doesn't even exist anymore, being like, hey, you do the updates, love your Badger stuff. Would you be a guest? He's been coming on ever since. And our dynamic mostly is me. Like I view it as a hockey dynamic where I'm trying to slide my takes past him. See if I can sneak one in the 5-hole. And for the most part, Zach's like, no. But every once in a while, he'll receive a take and be like, that's a good point. And then it is just so satisfying. Jim Polzine and Nick Boyd arguing about whether or not this is a great team. I don't think this is a great team. I think this was a good team that had a couple great wins. And good teams with a couple of great regular season wins are enjoyed in the moment, appreciated in the moment, and then not really remembered. I'm not going to tell my kids about Nick Boyd. I'm not going to tell my kids about... I see Scary Alvarez tweeting, Nick Boyd slander will not be tolerated. He's an all-time Badger. I think he had a good season. Sam Decker, that's an all-time Badger. Frank Kaminsky. Josh Gosser. Those guys have hardware. Final Four hardware. There's a banner. Johnny Davis, all-time Badger, because he's from La Crosse Central. I make the rules. It's my show. Bronson Koenig, all-time Badger, because he was an important piece on that show and because he's La Crosse Aquinas. Again, I make the rules. It's my show. Look, I'm going to talk about Showalter more down the road than I'm going to talk about Nick Boyd. Nothing against Nick Boyd. Nothing against Nick Boyd. But like, if I always use this example, like I'm going to tell my kids, I don't even know if I'm not exactly about to have a kid here, but it's just a good way to frame it. It's a good example. Like if my son or daughter or, whatever, if my child, my offspring, it's like, Dad, tell me about the best Badgers basketball players of your lifetime. I'd say Frank and Sam, Koenig, Gosser, Brust, I guess, because I have to. Bruzewitz, no. But I do like I do like Mike Bruzewitz. Probably Showalter. Who else? Douye Dukin. Maybe going to be in that conversation. And then I'd say Johnny Davis. And then in my lifetime, you'd have to go back. Like, obviously, Michael Finley and other players previous. I'm just kind of starting at those Final Four teams. I'm younger, sorry. Nick Boyd is an all-time Badger. Okay. I hate when listeners, I hate when I'm put in the position to have to dump on someone. Nick Boyd's great, but Nick Boyd is an all-time Badger? Come on. John Lure, good one at Rollcast University on the live stream. John Lure, Brian Butch before Nick Boyd for sure. Especially now that Brian Butch is a friend of the show. Nolan Winter. This will play well. Nolan Winter says the way High Point. What does it say? Why can I not read? Winter says the way High Point came back is just basketball. Christian Yelich, step up to the plate, buddy. I found you a new friend.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's just basketball. Like, shots go in and you're up 8-10 points with time winding down, you're feeling good, and all of a sudden they start. I mean, he hits a half-court shot pretty much. Like, that's a big shot to cut to 5, and then they put some more shots together. I continue to say this, but that's a really good team over there. So it's all the credit in the world to them and what they were able to do against us. And obviously, when we're not making shots, it makes it a little more difficult. But no, that's just hoops. That's what happens. But obviously, we were really hoping we could pull it out.
Yeah, well, all of a sudden you're up 8 and then you're not. Oh, okay. Well, I suppose. I guess basketball's that simple. I'm old school. I think there's a little bit more to making and missing shots. That's basketball. That's baseball. Okay. Hey, buddy, can we get above 33% from 3 next year? That was kind of your whole thing when we got you on campus. 33% from 3. If I wanted someone to clang threes off the side of the backboard, I'd just bring back Charlie Thomas. He probably has some more eligibility. Speaking of players that I was going to say, speaking of Badgers who I have above Nick Boyd, but that's just ridiculous. We'll pick this up tomorrow. More of a eulogy tomorrow. Have a good night. Thanks.